Hi. Today I will be speaking to you about how you can create better UX content for your digital products with conversational techniques. Now, when we talk about conversational design, we often use it to mean writing for chatbots or other chat-like interfaces. Think like Alexa, Siri, Google Home, etc. And that makes sense. They are, after all, interfaces having literal conversations with their users. However, I think that understanding those conversational techniques can improve not just the chatbot, but any digital interface. The things that make for a great conversation also make for a great digital interaction. Here's why. Conversation is really the most human interface. It's how we interact with each other, it's how we interface with each other. And interaction is key. If we go back just 10 years, many of those interactions that we are now having digitally used to be face-to-face conversations. So why do we then design and write these new digital experiences in a way that comes off as a little bit robotic? And the real question for us as designers and writers is really, how can we inject some humanity back into that conversation? And that's where I think believing in understanding that conversation is really the answer. Now, today I'm going to be taking you through 3 really simple conversational techniques that you can use when you're writing for a digital product. Those techniques are actively listening to your users, understanding their context, as well as responding to their emotions. Now, you'll notice that none of these are strictly writing techniques. They can be applied across different design disciplines. But what I'm going to do is show how we've done it through content design. Let's get started. The first one, listening. There are so many interfaces out there. I'm sure all of you've had these experiences where they act kind of like they don't remember the past interactions you've had with them. You may have to re-enter information you've already given, often over and over again. Or the interface feels like it forgets what your most common choices are, or it acts as if it didn't even know your name, although it very well does. So how can we start creating interfaces that feel like you're actually listening to the user and not falling into these common pitfalls? Let me show you these conversational maxims, which were put forth by the language philosopher Paul Grice way back in 1967. They may have been around for a while, but when looking at them, they apply perfectly when you're designing a digital product. If you've ever had an unsatisfactory conversation with someone, the likely culprit is that one of these wasn't followed. So let me take you through them. The first one is quantity. You want to stay relevant to the conversation you're having. Don't just kind of go on and throw everything you can at the user. You know, we've met that guy at the party, we don't want to be them. The second one is quality. You want to be trustworthy and you want to be transparent, also about your intentions. Don't mislead, even unintentionally. The third one, relation, is very important. This is the one that many digital products fall on. You want to stay on topic. What does the other person need right now? All too often, we want to throw everything we know at the user without considering whether that piece of information is actually relevant to them right now at this step. And the fourth one is manner. You don't want to be jumping from one topic to another. Stay focused, be clear, and use unambiguous language. There is also a fifth one, which was added in 1973 by the linguist Robin Lakoff, and it's politeness. This is really about making sure that your co-conversationalist is feeling good. Don't assume, and always give the user options. Basically, be nice, like you should in life in general. Let me show you how those look in an example. So this one is from a chatbot, but the same rules do apply to any other type of interaction or interface. And this is the only chatbot example I'll be showing. So this is from a bank. I worked on it a few years ago. And what you're seeing now is the original message that was asking users to sign in to their online banking service. Running through the conversational maxims, the team figured out that there were a few things we could improve. Let me show you what we did. So we answered all of those 5 questions, and we rewrote it. Let me show you what the changes were. The first one is quantity. So what we did was we took that big chunk of text and broke it up into 3 distinct pieces, and also cutting down on verboseness quite significantly. The second one is quality. the original message kind of popped up without telling the user why or why they were needing to sign in. So we made sure to include a little piece at the beginning that tells you why you're being asked to take this action. We need it so we can activate your credit card. The third one is relation. There was a little mention of a pop-up blocker in brackets in the old one, and it was kind of hanging out there. No one quite understood what it meant. But actually it was quite important. It helped the user troubleshoot a really common problem where the login wasn't kind of popping up for them. So we clearly separated it into its own section with an explanation of why it's important to help make sense of it for the user. Manner, we tried to make sentences really short, we tried to be very clear, use consistent language, etc. And finally, politeness. You may have noticed that the original second button said cancel. We changed it to more options because it's more helpful and it feels less like you're undoing something. So quantity, quality, relation, manner, and politeness. Use these 5 maxims to run through any content in any digital service, and you will see it become more relevant to the user's task, kind of like if you were actually listening. Onward to the next thing. Let's think about context next. When we engage in a real human conversation, especially before all of our conversations were on Zoom calls, we naturally understood the context of our co-conversationalist. After all, we're right there. This is obviously harder to do in an interface that can be used pretty much anywhere. But you can make some educated guesses. Is the user likely to be at home or on the go? Are they on mobile or desktop? Are they focusing on this task or multitasking? Are you dealing with a power user or a casual dabbler? The easiest way you can start making your content more context aware is using the actual language your users use. And the best way to figure that out is to actually just ask them. Do some research. One great way of doing this is if you're already doing some usability research, is you can slip in a question about how the user would describe this product or the feature you're working on to a friend. Or you can just listen in, see what terms they naturally use. If you can't do that, see if you can make a friend in the customer service department, get some call center logs or some chat service logs. Those are great cues for what kind of language keeps coming up. Or look at analytics. You can either look at your own service analytics, or if that's not available, you can also go on Google Trends and see what's generally trending. You can even compare 2 different terms and see which one you should pick. Or finally, you can talk to friends and family who have nothing to do with the industry you're working in. The one thing you shouldn't do is ask a bunch of bankers how they should talk about banking to people who don't understand. Now, you shouldn't only be on the lookout for industry or business speak, but technical jargon as well. This creeps in really easily, especially into error messages. What you're seeing here is an error from Tomorrow, which is the app I'm currently working on. And this is one that the user sees when they have used a special character in naming their little savings game city. Let's spot the non-conversational language in this. First of all, error. Quite the conversation starter. How about invalid? Really making the user feel great. Or alphanumeric. When's the last time you used the word alphanumeric in a sentence? Could we simplify this? And this is a great way to kind of check your language for non-conversational pieces, is run the conversation test. Read it out loud to someone. How does it sound? And how does it make the other person feel? So we wrote this. The error that is here isn't really a severe one, and it wasn't hard to fix. So we decided that we'd make it sound a little bit friendlier. Your city name is looking funky. We took away the invalid. Let's not make the user feel bad. And we edited alphanumeric to say letters or numbers, just like you would to a friend. And finally, we gave the user the option of renaming it, just to be polite. Other great examples of where a service is really thinking about the user's context. The first one is Audible. They realize that users don't always remember exactly how they signed up. That's the sort of thing we obsess about on the product side, but users don't really think about. So they help you out with simple contextual cues. The first option is the one that most people go for. The one at the bottom is for some long-time customers. The middle one is Finnair, an airline. And the app recognizes when the user arrives at the airport in Helsinki and prompts them to open their boarding pass right before they need to show it at security. Really context-aware. And the third one, Netflix. Now, Netflix doesn't let their users sign up in the actual app, which is annoying. You want to be watching your show, you don't want to be going through the hassle of getting your laptop out. The people at Netflix realize this, and they offer the users empathy and then remind them of the benefits of the service. And the Netflix example is also a great one of our third final conversational technique: write with emotion in mind. I welcome all of you to do the same thing. Before you write a single word, ask yourself this question: how is your user likely to feel? Are they worried? Are they super happy, shocked, angry, feeling productive, hungry, unwell? Next, write down how you would like them to feel after this interaction. And conversation can really help you bridge that gap. I'll show you a couple of examples. Let's start with the positive emotions. When your user is already feeling good, you can help kind of amplify that feeling, make it even greater. Really good spots to do this are when a user completes a flow or hits a milestone or just gets something. Now, don't go overboard. There's no need to celebrate every small step. Be appropriate. If you're doing a celebration at every stage I've submitted a form in, it gets quite old quite quickly. The example on the screen is from Circle's Life, and it's a pretty good one. They're celebrating the fact that I've been a customer with them for almost a year, and they are giving me a little something extra to make me even happier. Without this message, I probably wouldn't have even remembered. What if your user isn't feeling great? By thinking about the interaction as a conversation, you can help ease the pain. An example from the Raffles medical app. I recently pulled a muscle in my back and was in quite a bit of pain while waiting for my medication to arrive. And this is the message I saw. It says, hang in there, your medicine is on the way. It felt like the app actually knew how I was feeling. And a little extra for experts, if you want to play this game, look at this example later and think about how you could take those 5 conversational maxims from before and see how you could improve this even further. I have a feeling there's a few things we could change. Finally, when you're writing for products, we really need to try and keep our own feelings in check. We're not, after all, having a conversation with a friend. And here's a great example of how to handle users, let's say, who decide to leave your service, which is never a great feeling as the team designing it. This is from Harvest, which is a time tracking service. And what they do is they thank the user for the time they spent with the service, ask for some feedback, and then they make the user feel like they're always welcome back. What a class act. And interfaces really shouldn't make users feel worse or angrier or guilty. After all, remember the maxim of politeness. So let's do a quick recap of the techniques and what you can start doing right after you get back to your office or class or wherever tomorrow. The first one, run your content through the conversational maxims. See what you can add, what you can remove, and what you can change. Use your user's language and go find out what that actually is. Third, write with empathy. Remember, there's always a human at the other end. I leave you with one of my favorite quotes from Erica Hall's book, Conversation Design, which is fantastic. She says, our greatest accomplishments as verbal animals include jokes and poetry. Our most shameful sin is soulless corporate jargon. Let's start writing more humorous, more human, more conversational digital products. Thank you.